And welcome in, everyone. Another edition of Sports Medicine Weekly on this Saturday morning. I'm Steve Cashel, Chicago Bulls radio host. So happy to be joined this week by Dr. Chuck Bush-Joseph. He is one of the Chicago White Sox, Chicago Bulls team physicians. He was the head team physician for the White Sox for 15 years. Sports medicine specialist, orthopedic surgeon from Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. Subbing this week for my usual co-host, Dr. Brian Cole. Dr. Chuck, how are you?
I'm great, Steve. Happy to be here this morning.
Oh, we're going to start it off this morning talking about something really interesting, sports science. And it's amazing how far it's come, right? It is a science now.
It is a science, Steve. Now, in the old days, we thought it was just training and heart and hard work. There's so much more to it. And I think as our next guest is going to tell us, there's a lot more data that we can get that can help our athletes get to their max.
Well, our next topic is, first topic of the show, Gatorade's contribution to sports nutrition, consulting, and sweat testing. They sent me a video on this. It was really interesting. They're working with the Windy City Bulls. And let's bring on Lisa Samuels with Gatorade Sports Science Institute. And Linda, thanks for joining us. Let's get right into it. What is a sweat analysis test, and why are we performing this on elite athletes?
Well, the reason why we would want to conduct these tests on athletes is it really gives them insight as to how their bodies function during intense exercise and how fluids and carbohydrates and electrolytes can really contribute, or the lack of the fluid, carbohydrates and electrolytes can contribute to their fatigue. And so once we get the data from the sweat testing, they can help to really learn how it can correct symptoms and increase their performance, and all types of their performance indicators like sprint time and how long it takes to get across court, their shot success, and all types of indicators.
Linda, can you help our audience? I think, who's your best clients? And when we're talking about elite level athletes, is it that older athlete that's sort of looking for every edge? Or is it are younger athletes more aware of these facts, and are they more receptive to the information you can give them?
Well, in my experience, at every level, whether it's a young kid in high school or even in middle school, all the way up to professional level, because I work with all of those types of athletes, once they really understand what their sweat really, how it contributes to their performance and how they feel, once they understand that if they are hydrating properly and providing enough carbohydrates and electrolytes, and how it benefits their performance, they are all in. Because a lot of athletes are typically chronically dehydrated because they sweat a lot and they're not taking in adequate hydration. So once they start practicing good hydration, they feel the difference and they're really highly motivated to keep up with it. And that's what GSSI is doing with these professional athletes.
Linda, can you just tell our audience briefly, how is the test administered? I mean, are you just sampling at different phases?
Yeah, so what happens is we put a patch on their arm, and that will help us give a sampling of the amount of fluid loss and also sodium in the sweat, and we can analyze that. And we also monitor how much fluid and what type of fluid that they take in during the testing period. So then from that, we can determine how much fluid they've lost, how much sodium is in that sweat, and if they're taking in adequate carbohydrate to fuel the type of intense exercise that they're doing. And so with that, then we can plan an individualized recommendation for them, and so they can go forward and practice better hydration and fueling.
Visiting with Lisa Samuels from Gatorade Sports Science Institute. I'm Steve Cashel with Dr. Charles Bush-Joseph, subbing this week for Dr. Brian Cole. Our show is Sports Medicine Weekly here on 670 The Score. We're talking about Gatorade's contribution to sports nutrition, consulting, and sweat testing, why sweat testing matters, and what the players in the league are getting out of it. Let me ask you, what is physically considered, Linda, a state of dehydration?
So this actually varies with different types of athletes. Again, kind of like I mentioned, very highly trained athletes, professional athletes, they're kind of used to be chronically dehydrated. And so they don't really understand sometimes how it does affect their energy levels and also their focus ability. And so once we show them how dehydrated they actually are, and they switch and use better hydration during practice, and they start to feel different, it's amazing. Athletes come up to me all the time afterwards and say, oh my goodness, I feel so much better now that I'm hydrating properly and getting enough carbs and increasing the amount of sodium that they're taking in. So they can really feel the difference that they were unable to feel before.